Hello traders, this is Jim Comiskey coming to you live from Archer Daniels Midland Investor Services. It is currently Tuesday the 20th at about 1:45 or so. My apologies for I'm having camera trouble, alright? And I don't know if it's something going on YouTube side or whatever, but I posted the video yesterday. You saw I was having trouble last Friday. Finally managed to get up yesterday, but when I got up yesterday, disappeared. So me and Teddy are working to try and figure out. It's a glitch in the system. That's what I have to assume. Okay, first of all, the opinions that I'm about to express are mine and mine alone and are not necessarily shared by Archer Daniels Midland Investor Services, okay? Even though perhaps they should be. I'll give you some color on the gold complex amongst other things. First of all, gold is down $20, 1647. Okay, the low 1641.20, the high 1664.90. Silver is down $1, 31.95, 31.75 low, 32.96 the high. Okay, Teddy, pull a high tower, will you? Thank you. All right, I'll give you support and resistance momentarily here. But really, your main driver here today, just continued choppy trade. There was a report earlier this morning, BHP, Billiton, largest miner in the world, it noted a sharp slowdown of Chinese iron ore consumption. All right, so that kind of spooked the markets across the board in the metals. Okay, but there's pretty much your driver. Okay, dollar's only up 10. So what does that tell you? Speaking of 10, I'm going to try and keep these videos to 10 minutes and see if we can work out our problem with YouTube. Gotcha. Okay, now I did a really good rant yesterday, in my humble opinion, on gas prices. Okay, unleaded gas. Now, you're going to get, this is a gentleman named Brian Walsh, okay, a talking head for Time Magazine. By the way, the name of his column, even though it's called Time Science, is Going Green. All right, viewpoint, gas prices and the big GOP lie. Where do you think this guy's going to go? Okay, anyways, by the way, this just came across abcnews.com. Highest gas prices ever recorded in the month of March. Okay, average across the country now 387, highest in history. All right, so this gentleman, this Brian Walsh, goes on to basically say, I'll just read this, okay, I'll quote you it. To hear Republican presidential candidates tell it, President Obama is doing all he can to raise the cost of gasoline. Last week, Mitt Romney told Fox News Obama's done everything in his power to make it harder for us to get oil and natural gas in this country, driving up the price of those commodities in the case of gasoline. Okay, and then this gentleman goes on to explain how that's completely false. Okay, no, gas is expensive because oil is expensive, and oil is expensive for reasons that the United States didn't cause. You know what? For those of you who follow me, you saw the news I had like about 2 weeks ago about these 3 refineries in the Northeast that supply 50% of unleaded gas to the Northeast were shut down due to excessive EPA regulations. Companies just chose to walk away rather than retool. Okay, you think that has a little something to do with high gas prices? All right. One other thing with this guy, and then I'm going to dispense with him. Domestic oil production has. This is what the Democrats now are going to trumpet. Domestic oil production steadily increased from about 5.18 million barrels a day in 2005 to more than 5.5 million barrels a day last year. This is true. It has nothing to do with President Obama. It has everything to do with a ramp up in production, primarily in North Dakota. Okay, and major technological advances from not only natural gas drillers, okay, but crude drillers, okay, traditional drillers. Now, I've got a little report here. You might want to just, go on EIA's website and see if you can grab it before they pull it down. The report is sales of fossil fuels produced on federal and Indian lands, fiscal year 2003 through fiscal year 2011. All right, now we're going to go back to Brian here about domestic oil production, okay, increasing steadily. That has zero to do with the land that is under the United States of America's care, if you will. Okay, and again, this is sales of fossil fuels produced on federal and Indian lands, fiscal year 2003 to 2011. All right, this the analysis here, it's on the EIA's website, by the way. Okay, Energy Information Administration. The analysis here is provided by Institute for Energy Research. And I'll quote. Okay, and now bear in mind those years, 03 to 11. So this isn't a blatant attack just on Obama. This is U.S. government policies. Fossil fuel, coal, oil, and natural gas production on federal and Indian lands is the lowest in the 9 years EIA reports data and is 6% less than in fiscal year 2010. Crude oil and lease condensate production on federal and Indian lands is 13% lower than in fiscal year 2010. Natural gas production on federal and Indian lands is the lowest in the 9 years that the EIA reports data and is 10% lower in fiscal year 2010. Natural gas plant liquids production on federal and Indian lands is 3% lower than in fiscal year 2010. Coal production on federal and Indian lands is the lowest in the 9 years of data EIA reported. This sets a pattern here. Okay, now here's just a chart. Okay, on production. Obviously, this is today. Okay, and Obama's term comes in around here. There. And again, it goes back all the way to 03. Okay, so this isn't just squared on Obama's plate. But there's so much that's gone into, I mean, it's like a perfect storm for high energy prices, okay? I've got here a list, naturalresources.house.gov. I would encourage you to go to this site. Okay, it is basically a day-by-day itinerary of new regulations that have come down just from Obama now, from the EPA, from various Interior Department. It goes from February 4th, 2009, where the U.S. withdrew areas offered for 77 oil and gas leases in Utah. I'll just hit a couple of them. Oh, April 17th. The Obama administration listed carbon dioxide as a hazardous pollutant, opening the door for the regulation of all CO2 emissions under the Clean Air Act. You know what? This is last time I checked. You know, when you exhale, you're exhaling carbon dioxide. You are now a hazardous polluter, okay, and subject to regulation under the Clean Air Act. But this reads like an absolute roadmap for record unleaded prices. March 12th, withdrew 61 oil and natural gas leases in Montana. March 31st, of 2010, by the way. An Interior Department presentation showed that they plan to postpone all new lease sales in the Gulf of Mexico until 2012. December 1st, 2010, effectively reinstated the ban on offshore drilling. How are we doing, Ted? Placing the entire Pacific coast, the entire Atlantic coast, the Eastern Gulf, and parts of Alaska off limits to future energy production until 2017 at the earliest. January 14th, 2011, retroactively pulled a permit for a West Virginia coal mine, costing 250 jobs. January 9th of 2012, imposed a 20-year ban on uranium mining on 1 million acres of federal land in Arizona. The February 3rd, 2012, announced a draft by the Bureau of Land Management to close over 1 million acres of public land in Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming to oil shale development. This is a blueprint. And then this gentleman at Time magazine goes on to cite the tremendous increases in domestic production of gasoline. That's industry doing that. Now, you know, I mean, what's the difference? You got Obama claiming credit for something like this, okay? And he had zero to do with it. He's done everything to try and suppress that increase in production. And I mean, the evidence is all here. So, you know, people will say, in fact, a gentleman called me and says, look, you know what, they're politicians, okay? You know, it's campaign rhetoric. To me, there is like a very fine line, an increasingly blended concept of campaign rhetoric versus an outright lie. And you, like me, should be outraged. They're crossing a line here. It's to the point, Republican and Democrat, that they don't care about this country. All right, it's all about them, the ruling class in D.C., whatever. All right, I'm going to get off my soapbox, okay? Again, I vow to try and keep these below 10 minutes so that I can, hopefully efficiently get it up on YouTube. My apologies for the glitches I've been having. Thanks for following me. If you would like to get a hold of me, work with me directly perhaps, give me a call on my toll-free. It's 888-935-7979. If you're outside the U.S., you can call on 312-242-7996 or email me. My email address, jim.comiskey, C-O-M-I-S-K-E-Y, at archerfinancials.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Good luck and good trading.